In the shadowed spring of 536 CE, across forgotten corners of Europe and far beyond, people looked to the sky and saw a nightmare unfolding. The sun hung weak and veiled, its light pale and unnatural, casting faint shadows that lingered even at noon. For 18 long months, the world drifted into an endless twilight, where crops withered in the fields and famine began to tighten its silent grip. It felt to those who lived through it as though some ancient curse had stolen the very warmth of the heavens. From the crumbling halls of Byzantium, the historian Procopius recorded his quiet dread. The sun gave forth its light without brightness throughout the entire year. In the forsaken courts of Italy, Cassiodorus wrote of a bluish sun that cast no proper shadows at noon, while seasons dissolved into confusion and chaos. Later Syrian chroniclers preserved the memory of a sun that shone weakly, sometimes for only 4 hours a day, across 18 haunting months. From the stark entries of Ireland's annals, simple words noting the failure of bread, to veiled accounts echoing across Eurasia, one truth emerged. This was no passing strangeness. It was a global shroud drawing entire civilizations into the cold and the unknown. The past, however, refuses to stay buried. Deep within ice cores, from Greenland's frozen tombs and Antarctica's silent depths, lie trapped sulfate spikes, ghostly traces of colossal eruptions. These were the fingerprints of volcanoes that hurled sunlight-blocking aerosols high into the stratosphere, cloaking the earth in chill. Across Eurasia, tree rings bear the scars, narrow bands of stunted growth that mark the beginning of the late antique Little Ice Age, a long, protracted winter. What force conjured this veil remains half shrouded in mystery. The first great eruption in 536 was likely born in the fiery north, tiny shards of volcanic glass trapped in the ice point accusingly toward Iceland. A second, even mightier blast, probably tropical, struck in 539 or 540, its true source still debated, still lost. And a third pulse in 547 only deepened the darkness. Together they wove a quiet catastrophe, temperatures plunging as much as 3.5 degrees. Harvests failing from Ireland's misty shores to the distant fields of China, unravelled beneath this dimmed sky. Ireland's annals mourn years when bread simply failed. Scandinavian communities faced shortened seasons and fraying bonds. Trade routes grew quiet as granaries stood empty, and just as the worst of the chill began to ease, the Justinianic Plague arrived, striking a world already weakened, its horror perhaps sharpened by the shadows that came before. It reminds us how fragile our place beneath the sky truly is, that unseen eruptions, wild and indifferent, can reshape empires in mere decades. Yet even from that abyss, resilience emerged. Fields were sown again. Stories were preserved in ink, in ice, in the narrow rings of ancient trees. The sun in time reclaimed its fire. Through those frozen echoes and fearful words scratched on parchment, we glimpse a simple, haunting truth. Even the heavens can falter, but shadows eventually must yield.